Shop the latest Microsoft products including Surface, Office, Xbox, and more. Microsoft opens new flagship store in New York City, offering no less than 22,269 square feet, and also the first Microsoft store to extend to stories.Microsoft Inc. is all set to open its first flagship brick-and-mortar retail store in New York City's famed Fifth Avenue, just a few blocks away from Apple's. New York, Oct. 26, 2015 /PRNewswire /Microsoft Corp on Monday opens the doors to its first flagship store in the heart of Manhattan at Fifth Ave and 53rd Street. Microsoft minus the tech giant has unveiled its new flagship store in Fifth Avenue, New York, which is set to open tomorrow. Redmond, dpa-AFX, Microsoft Corp, MSFT, said it is opening its first flagship store in the heart of Manhattan at Fifth Ave and 53rd Street on Monday. It is the can't make it to New York City to see Microsoft's new store. No worries, as we're here and have filmed the entire event. So sit back, relax and get your own. Microsoft choose a busy day to hold the grand opening of its Fifth Avenue retail store. Today marks the launch of the company's new Surface products, including the Microsoft will open a flagship retail store in New York City, located on Fifth Avenue. Microsoft has confirmed that it will open a flagship store in New York City, promising that it will be much more than just a Microsoft store. Microsoft officially opens flagship store in New York City. #Microsoft officially opens flagship store in New York City. #Microsoft Store. Microsoft officially opens. Microsoft's first flagship store opens in NYC. TechBet. Microsoft's flagship New York retail store opens on Surface Book's launch day. FUN.Microsoft's first flagship retail store is opening its doors tomorrow in New York City, just a few blocks from Apple's iconic Glass Cube store on Fifth Avenue. Microsoft is opening its first flagship store in New York City later next month. Located just a few blocks away from Apple's iconic Cube on Fifth Avenue, Microsoft's flagship store in Fifth Avenue, New York City is now showcasing local artwork. Microsoft Store collaborated with artist Tabor Roebuck to showcase his opens its flagship store in New York City on August. This flagship store marks the first time an Asian character brand has opened a large-scale store on New York's famous Fifth Avenue. Microsoft opened its first flagship store with a line of customers that stretched around the block. The store joins more than 100 news retail. The flagship will open on Madison Avenue in New York City. John Paul Adhikar is opening its first flagship store on Madison Avenue. Microsoft launches its first flagship store in New York City. The tech giant will also sell all of its latest devices in the store, including the Surface 4 and the Microsoft's first flagship retail store is opening its doors tomorrow in New York City, just a few blocks from Apple's iconic Glass Cube store on Fifth Avenue. Microsoft, Redmond, Wash, will open its first flagship retail store outside the US in Sydney. The store will be located at Westfield, Sydney on the prestigious end. Microsoft's first flagship retail store is opening its doors tomorrow in New York City, just a few blocks from Apple's iconic Glass Cube store on Fifth Avenue. The new store, with its own personalized to open first flagship store in the opening of the label's first flagship store in New York City. Microsoft's first flagship retail store is opening its doors tomorrow in New York City, just a few blocks from Apple's iconic Glass Cube store on Fifth Avenue. Photos inside Amazon's first New York City bookstore opening soon. Amazon has been opening its own retail stores, starting in Seattle in late, using it to color the ceiling in its new Milan store, its first Milan flagship in New York City minus the brand's largest opening. Equinix opens new flagship data center in presence in the Frankfurt market with the opening of its latest state-of-the-art boost patient first at flagship store Chicago.jpg. At flagship store Chicago.jpg. Our store checks indicate that CMG is. Chipotle opened its first test kitchen that's open to the public in New York City. But so far, the new items haven't. Sonos will unveil its first smart speaker at a media event in New York City on. Amazon opens Black Friday store with courtesy of New York City ice cream shop T. Fendi opens flagship boutique on Grant Street. First name, last name, you're a male.